Hey everyone, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this one. I didn't organize the celebration to show off or prove a point. I did it because no one else stepped up. My parents were nearing their 40th wedding anniversary, and my sister tossed out the idea of a modest gathering. Maybe just a lunch, she texted in our family chat. My brother dropped a thumbs up emoji, and that was it. Weeks went by with no plans, no venue, no effort. So I took charge. For 2 months, I scoured options for charters out of Santa Barbara, eventually booking a yacht with gleaming wooden decks and a private dining room for 30 guests. I arranged for a live string and piano ensemble, gentle enough to keep conversations flowing. I secured 3 cases of carefully selected wines from a sommelier who knew coastal pairings inside out. For the flowers, I worked with a local florist to recreate my mom's wedding bouquet with white tulips and ranunculus. When I shared the inspiration photo with her, her eyes welled up. That felt like it mattered. The total cost? $18,500. I didn't tell my parents the exact figure, just assured them it was handled. They didn't press for details, and maybe that was my first clue. But back then, I didn't mind. I took time away from my freelance work, juggled vendor calls, and crafted a seating chart to tactfully keep my dad from lecturing my cousin about investments. Every choice was deliberate, thoughtful, not for praise, but because I wanted this to be a moment where we stood together as equals, not with me as the fixer, the planner, the quiet one who sorts out messes, but simply as their daughter, fully present. The final bill arrived a week before the event, and I paid it without hesitation. Then, almost instantly, my aunt sent a text, her tone light, almost careless. By the way, we're keeping the guest list small. You're not invited. I stared at my phone, certain it was a mix-up, a scheduling error. Then my mom's message came through. It's not personal. Hope you understand. I didn't respond. I didn't call. I just sat there, phone in hand, trying to recall the last time they saw me as family, not hired help. I kept rereading the texts, hoping they'd somehow change if I looked long enough. We're keeping the guest list small. You're not invited. No sorry, no explanation, just those words. I thought maybe my aunt had texted the wrong person. I waited for a correction, a quick, oops, wrong chat, or even a playful emoji. Nothing came. Just silence. Then my mom's name flashed on my screen again. I opened it, it's not personal. Hope you understand. That line stung deeper than the first. It's not personal. I'd heard it before. When they forgot my birthday 2 years running, when they went to Yellowstone without me, saying they figured I was too busy, when my sister's boyfriend of 2 months got a Christmas dinner invite and I didn't. Always the same refrain. Hope you understand. Hope you understand we forgot you. Hope you understand it wasn't meant to hurt. Hope you understand you're just useful enough to clean up our messes, but not enough to include. I didn't reply. I didn't ask for clarity or beg for a spot at the party I'd planned. Instead, I scrolled through my calendar, staring at the bookings I'd made for their big day, catering confirmations, wine deliveries, orchestra schedules, yacht access times. My name was on every email, every contract, every receipt. Yet somehow, it wasn't on their guest list. I set my phone down and stood in my kitchen, unsure of my next move. My hands felt foreign, like they weren't mine. There was no misunderstanding to fix, no error to correct. They'd made their choice, and for the first time in ages, I realized I could make one too. I didn't tell anyone what I was planning, not my friends, not my siblings, definitely not my parents. I opened my laptop and pulled up the yacht contract. The cancellation window was still open, just barely. I emailed the coordinator, citing a change in event terms, and requested the deposit back. Minutes later, I got a confirmation. Next, I contacted the orchestra. The lead violinist had been so kind, even offering to adjust their set when I mentioned budget constraints. I messaged him, explaining the event had shifted, and asked to hold off on the remaining payment. He responded graciously, saying he understood. The wine was trickier. The sommelier was already prepping crates for delivery. But when I explained the event had changed significantly, she agreed to pause the order. No refund, but no shipment either. I could accept that. The flowers, already custom made, were non-refundable. I didn't try to stop them. Let them show up. Let someone else deal with 24 arrangements of white tulips and soft blue ranunculus. That wasn't my problem anymore. That night, I sat on a dock near my apartment, watching the water ripple under the marina's faint lights. If I squinted, I could see the harbor where the yacht would have sailed from. I pictured the empty decks, the absent music, the clink of cheap plastic cups instead of fine glassware. And I felt nothing, no anger, no vindication, just a calm distance from something I'd once poured myself into. They'd made it clear I wasn't welcome, and I made sure they'd feel my absence. The morning of the party, my phone started buzzing just after 6 a.m. I was still in bed, the sun barely filtering through the blinds. I didn't answer. My dad's name lit up the screen, call after call. No voicemails, just persistent silence. By the fourth call, I flipped the phone face down. By the seventh, I tucked it into a drawer and shut it completely. I knew what was happening. The orchestra hadn't arrived. The wine wasn't there. The yacht never docked. Their celebration was falling apart, and now, they remembered me. I spent the morning as if I had nowhere to be. I brewed coffee, ate slowly, strolled to the corner bakery, and treated myself to a croissant, something I never did when I was busy solving everyone else's problems. I sat on a bench outside, watching people hurry by with places to go. I didn't think about the party, the guests, or the moment someone noticed there was no music or wine. I let myself savor having no role, no checklist, no calls to make. At noon, I turned my phone back on. 11 missed calls, 10 from my dad, 1 from my aunt. It rang again. I let it go once, then answered. My dad didn't shout or apologize. He just asked, Ira, what happened? Like it was some mysterious glitch, like I'd acted out of nowhere, like their text excluding me never existed. I paused, then said the only thing that felt true. It's not personal. And I hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone in hand, waiting for the usual rush of adrenaline after a confrontation. It didn't come. No guilt, no regret, just calm. They'd used that line, it's not personal, like a weapon for years, a way to dodge accountability or consequences. Now I'd given it back to them. It wasn't about anger, it was about drawing a line. For once, they were the ones left outside it. 3 days later, I checked my phone for the first time. No missed calls, no texts, no voicemails, just quiet, like I'd vanished and no one cared to look. Out of habit, I scrolled to my sister's social media and saw she'd shared photos, likely from our cousin Amanda, who treated Instagram like a diary. The caption read, "A beautiful day for two amazing people." But the images told a different story. No elegant setup, just a patchy backyard with folding tables and faded plastic chairs pulled from storage. One photo showed a cooler on the grass, soda bottles bobbing in melted ice. Another had a centerpiece of grocery store carnations, still in plastic wrappers, stuffed into a mason jar like an afterthought. My dad stood by the fence in one shot, arms folded, staring into the distance, his dress shirt slightly too tight. My mom posed with her sisters in another, her smile forced, eyes swollen, makeup uneven. I lingered on the photos longer than I meant to, not out of regret, but curiosity. It was like peering into a world I'd been quietly erased from. They'd had their party, smiled for the camera, and moved on without a single call to ask why I'd canceled, or if I was okay. That didn't hurt, it clarified. Those photos didn't make me sad. They made me tally up every task I'd taken on over the years without question. Every 2-hour drive to fix their garage door or reset their thermostat. Every time I did their taxes because I was good with numbers. Every bill I paid after they mentioned it casually over dinner, never to be mentioned again. 2 years ago, I covered a $2,800 roof repair after my dad complained about a leak and looked at me a moment too long. I sent the money that night. No one thanked me, except my brother with a thumbs up emoji when the roof held through a storm. I kept their HVAC plan in my name from an emergency winter repair, paying the $315 annual fee without thinking until last month's charge reminded me. It wasn't just money, it was my time, my weekends, my early mornings spent finding the best deals on contractors or supplies they'd forgotten to plan for. It was emotional work dressed up as helpfulness, cloaked in politeness. never mistaken for care. So I stopped. I logged into every account tied to my name, removed payment methods, canceled subscriptions, deleted reminders. I made calls, closed accounts, handed back responsibilities. It took an afternoon, and when I was done, I didn't feel guilt, I felt free. That evening, I returned to a half-finished side table I'd abandoned months ago. I sanded it, glued the joints, and traced the frame with my fingers. There was peace in that work, in building something that didn't demand anything back, something solid, because I chose to make it so, not because it needed me. For the first time in years, I saw how quiet my life could be without someone else's chaos. A message came that afternoon from Amanda, my cousin. "Hey, your sister's saying you bailed on the party. That something's up with your mental health." I stared at the words, not shocked, but still struck. Bailed? I'd planned every detail, paid for it, coordinated every vendor, and now I was the no-show with a supposed breakdown. They weren't just erasing me, they were rewriting me. I didn't hesitate. I opened my receipts folder and sent Amanda screenshots. The yacht invoice, the wine order, the paused catering contract, my aunt's text saying I wasn't invited, my mom's follow-up saying it wasn't personal. I sent them in a clean thread. She didn't reply right away. Then what the hell? I had no idea. They made it sound like you were unstable. Unstable. That word lingered longer than the phone in my hands. After all I'd done, the moment I stopped, they didn't ask why. They just invented a story that suited them. I replied I didn't bail. I wasn't invited. She didn't push back. I wasn't trying to cause drama or win sympathy. I just needed one person to see the truth clearly, to let it exist outside me. Amanda said she believed me, that it explained the missing wine, the absent tent. They didn't mention any of that, she wrote. Of course they didn't. I set the phone down and the clarity hit, not relief, not validation, just a truth that stood on its own. 2 days later, my brother texted, "Hey, internet's down all morning. Dad's freaking out. Know anything about routers?" I didn't reply. The next day, my mom, "Hi, Elra, microwave's acting weird again. Not urgent, if you have a sec." Nothing. Then my dad sent a photo of the garage door motor. Half taken apart, wires dangling, no words, just the image, like I'd see it and rush over. I didn't. I glanced at it, closed the message, and went back to my grocery list. The requests kept coming every few days. Clogged gutters, a printer not connecting, forgotten tax file passwords. Not one apology, not one mention of the party. They weren't reaching out to fix things. They wanted maintenance. They didn't miss me. They missed the free labor. I was done offering it. I filled my days with small, quiet things. I built a slim shelf for my hallway, visited a weekend flea market just because I felt like it, started going to bed earlier without the dread of a late-night crisis call. They used to treat my silence like a passing phase, something they could wait out. But this wasn't silence. It was a boundary, a solid line they couldn't cross. When they realized they couldn't, they didn't apologize. They panicked. Amanda texted me one Thursday, saying she was in town and wanted to talk in person. No pressure. We met at a quiet coffee shop near my place. She looked uneasy, not her usual self, and got straight to it. "I think your mom's actually going to therapy," she said. "Like weekly sessions?" I asked. She nodded. "She started after the party, after you went quiet. She broke down trying to plan Thanksgiving. No one offered to help. My dad told her, 'We're not doing that again.' That's when she admitted everything, not just the party, but how she's treated you for years." Amanda paused, then pulled a folded paper from her bag and slid it across the table. "It's from your dad," she said. I opened it slowly. One shaky, all-cap sentence in his handwriting. "I'm trying to learn how to be a dad." No greeting, no signature, just that raw, clumsy honesty. It hit harder than years of their forced smiles or polite deflections. I tucked the note into my bag and nodded. Amanda didn't push, just said, "Whatever you decide, I get it," and left it there. That night, I sat at my desk with a blank card. I didn't want to erase the space I'd built, but I also didn't want to dismiss what felt like their first real effort. So I wrote, "I'm not ready to come back, but I'm open to something real." I signed just my name, sealed the envelope, and set it by the door to mail in the morning. Months passed and the quiet stayed. No chaos, no guilt-tripped favors, just space. I hiked canyon trails I'd always claimed I was too busy for, cooked meals slowly without watching the clock, built a cedar bench for my porch, and sat on it each morning with coffee, watching the light shift. I slept better than I had in years. Then, one day, a message came from my mom. Short, simple. They wanted to meet if I was open to it. No demands, no manipulation. I thought it over for a few days before agreeing. We met at a small cafe halfway between our homes, neutral ground. They were already there when I arrived. My dad stood as I walked in, an old habit he hadn't shaken. My mom looked weary, but more present than I'd ever seen. They didn't launch into excuses or recite regrets like a script. They just looked at me and my mom said, "We're sorry, Elijah, for treating you like help instead of family." My dad nodded. We should have done better. The words weren't polished, but they were honest, and they didn't rush to fill the silence. I let it sit before replying, "Thank you. I hear you, but I'm not ready to come back yet." My mom blinked but didn't argue. My dad stared at his hands. I stood, and they didn't reach for me. I walked away without anger or the need to explain. Some doors don't slam. They close softly, firmly, and you realize you've always held the key.